If you're new here and this is your first video, you'd be surprised to know that this channel is usually just an RSCVanilla exclusive zone of the internet, and I typically only do videos that cover news and events there, but this video is a little different. This video we're going to branch out a little and explore one server in particular that I've been meaning to check out for months. No, I'm not switching over full-time. No, I'm not trying to get you to switch over full-time or leave or whatever you're doing. I do believe that it's a fun thing to try out, but I don't believe 2001scape was made for that. I don't even believe the creators even care if this is a popular thing with loads of new players. It just exists, and it's there to exist. And I think that's pretty cool. I've had a lot of fun so far, and I felt like it was worth sharing, so in this video I'll attempt to jump right in and cover the just plethora of similarities and differences between 2001scape and what most RSC servers are based off of. It's important to keep in mind that certain dates in the RSC timeline brought about massive changes to the game. Everything from the map as a whole, to the quests, to the game mechanics and sprites, and the skills that a player could train and partake in. So 2001scape is a snapshot of RSC from May the 8th, I believe, and 2001, and that's about 21 years and 2 months, for those keeping track. So imagine it's May of 2001, and we're creating our first ever RSC character, I mean, we're on our CRT monitor. We would be greeted with this screen right after we degaussed, And yeah, we would have this screen pop up, and you still at that time had a class system. So when creating a character, you had to choose between being a warrior, an adventurer, a wizard, a necromancer, or a ranger. The character creation with regards to the look of your player is much the same as later forms of the game, but you got to choose wisely, because there is no makeover mage. What would Cruz ever do with himself, Yeah, you heard it correctly. You are stuck with it, so choose wisely. So after you create a character, you can then choose to be a PKer or a non-PKer. And this is an option that you can toggle on and off, but you only get 2 shots at it. So after you initially choose, so it's recommended to be a PKer because you can only engage in combat with other players who are like 5 levels above or below you. But you can skill to your heart's content if you desire. It's up to you. So moving on to banks. So when you first log on, you create a character. You're going to find yourself in a bank. I would imagine probably Drainer Bank, or maybe like Varrock. You went all the way up there and found a bank, I think is what I did myself. You can deposit anything into your bank that you'd like, as long as it's only coins. Yeah, you basically don't have a bank. I mean, you technically do, just not in the sense that you're used to. So this brings like having alts or needing mule accounts to a whole new level. I mean, during my time so far, I've not made one, but I've heavily considered it, especially while questing, because you need like so many damn things in your inventory, and you forget really fast that when you're a beginner with nothing going on and you're just starting out, you're utilizing every single damn square of your inventory. So space is a precious thing throughout your time in 2001scape. The most beautiful thing about 2001scape is there is no fatigue.
Oh my God!
Yes, hallelujah, brother. Going this relatively short period of time without fatigue in the game made me realize just how much I hate it. It's such a terrible thing. I want to toss it off a bridge someday. Moving on. So on to combat. Attack and defense are not required to wield or wear higher level like weapons and armors. And this was a big one that I skimmed over initially, not realizing. Though you will probably get those levels anyway, just trying to make money for the said better armor and weapons. There's no level requirements. I'm not sure if I like this or not, to be honest. Not like it matters what I think. I mean, it's set in stone. They did it anyway. They did this. It happened. So what do you want? It's always been that way as long as I've played. You got 5 for steel, 10 for black, 20 for myth, 30 for addy, 40 for rune, 60 for dragon. And oh yeah, there's no rune in 2001scape or dragon, of course. Those were added later. So your ultimate dripscape dream is full addy, circa May 2001. I think I have an old screenshot of somebody in full addy from way back in the day. It's probably came from Cruise. I can flash up there. I'm still trying to figure out how an addy two-hander is supposed to happen in this game. If no one can smith it and no monsters like drop it, I guess that would be your penultimate weapon, other than an addy battle axe. I mean, I guess 2001scape needs an out for fun to just come beast smithing, which is, it's also a bit different than what we're used to in the later stages of RSC. So no bank. Rocks have to be prospected when you mine them. Sort of. I got away with just prospecting the one rock, like figuring out which one was which in the mine, and then I just spammed it during Doric's Anvil quest. So you'd hit it, it would give you an ore. You'd hit it again, it would say it's out of ore. You wait like 3 seconds or something, and then it respawns. But that's kind of how mining works. But yeah, I don't know how you would get a higher level smithing without a bank or any. There's no serting. There's no serting. Drainer is not the drainer that you know. So we'll get to that very soon here in map. I have a whole section of like changes to the map. Okay, so there's no fishing. Fishing had not entered the game yet, so your choice of food is quite limited. There's no thieving yet either. There's no fletching. There's only one type of arrow, and they're like comically short and stubby. And there's only a basic bow, crossbow, and bolts. There's no oyster pearl bolts, of course. Chickens do not drop feathers. Only bones and raw meat. No space. You have to right-click to use your axe on the tree to chop it down for wood cutting, which oddly enough is a skill along with fire making. Wood cutting experience scales with your level, just like it does in the later versions. There's no herb law, so there's no Taverley, no Caquameeks, no Druid Circle, and there's no herb law. There is crafting. Crafting was kind of a hard one for me to wrap my head around. There's no crafting guild. There's no crafting store in Alcarid. There is one in Remington. So the crafting guild does not exist. The little peninsula of the hobgoblins does not exist. It is just a cliff, and I'll show a screenshot of that. So tailoring was a skill that you couldn't train. So at this point in the game, they couldn't make up their minds about crafting and tailoring. So tailoring later merged with crafting. So there's no silver rocks. There's no dragon stones. There is no leather working. So cows, you can't even attack a cow. A cow is just basically a grazing black and white blob at this stage. It doesn't drop cow hides. You can't attack it. So as far as I can tell, as far as crafting goes, and maybe somebody can correct me if I'm wrong here, the Amulet of Accuracy is the best amulet in the game at this stage. And I've made jokes on that before, how that amulet is just freaking useless. Geez, not in 2001scape. You need it. So the only ways to level crafting that I've encountered so far is from quest rewards, using clay to make pots and stuff like that, using a chisel on uncut gems, and spinning wool. So there you go on crafting. Magic and prayer, I feel like, sort of deserve their own special section of explanation. These two sort of intertwine, and they look like a mistake to me. Evidently, they did to the creators too. So, of all the things that changed after this update and later updates, I think this change was the most beneficial to the game as a whole. Magic is split into good and evil, and it only goes to level 14, so there's no teleporting spells. No DME, no teleporting spells equals tons of walking in 2001scape. The prayer, Thick Skin, is actually a magic spell in 2001scape. So go figure that. So the skill of prayer in 2001scape, bones do drop, but there are no prayers, so you're basically burying bones to level nothing, essentially. Here's where we sort of get into the weeds, and I'm not 100% sure about what I'm going to say, and so don't take my word as gospel. And this is with regards to combat, because I'm not a PKer in this. I chose to opt out of that, thinking maybe one day I'll turn it on. I cannot see anyone's combat level. Only the option to trade and follow are available to me while right-clicking on someone. This may, like I said, this may be because I'm a non-PKer. One day I'll switch to PKer, but I only have 2 chances to switch, so I'd rather not right now. At least not until I finish some things. I basically wanted to, as soon as I knew I was going to make some sort of a video about this, I wanted to not die and hold on to what I was carrying. So as far as leveling individual stats, I would assume that the underlying mechanism of killing NPC equals experience number going towards your selected combat style equals level going up in turn. And that follows something close to what would have come in later stages of the game and what I'm used to. In the game, typing what is that, ::CMB shows me something much lower than what would appear in later RSC, and thinking that, yeah, using a combat calculator will still show you an accurate reading is something that I would not count on. It looks like it follows hits instead. I opted for Warrior when I started, so I started with 333. In later RSC, I started as 111, 111, 10. So training levels, like, for some reason, when I'm leveling, it feels like it takes longer. I can't prove it. I have no numbers to back this up, but it feels slightly longer. I may be on crack, but it feels longer. Probably because I can't see the numbers or anticipate things the way that I would normally. Again, levels are a complete surprise when they eventually happen, and you can only take a wild guess as to when you're close. Yeah, so that's combat. Barely a gist of combat. Moving on to quests. There are no quest points in 2001scape. I feel like I'm just upsetting people as I keep going, but this is the kind of shit that made me want to play this. It's just so raw. There are no quest points, only influence, which you gain by doing quests. There are only 15 quests in the game at this point in the RSC timeline. Romeo and Juliet, Sheep Shearer, Cook's Assistant, Witch's Potion, The Restless Ghost, Ernest the Chicken, Doric's Quest, Black Knight's Fortress, which is called Spy Quest, Imp Catcher, Prince Ali Rescue, Vampire Slayer, Demon Slayer, the Night Sword, and the Shield of Arov. So, influence. By doing all these quests, you build influence, and it is listed like a skill in your menu. So the Champions Guild can be accessed after completing all the quests and achieving maximum, I guess, influence. This is the only way to get Addy Plate or a black large helmet, from Villain, other than by trading another player. So no Scavo. There's no rune shop yet there. That came in a later update. And that's just one of the many different things to wrap your head around. And another thing to wrap your head around is the areas of the map and how they're different. So as far as sections of the map, I will flash screenshots and briefly go over the differences. You have to remember that at this stage, in RSC, player houses were going to be a thing. So East Varrock, East Falador are both sort of similar in the way that you have player houses, and it's sort of behind the curtain. You can see it, you can stand by it, you can read the sign that says it's coming soon, but as we all know, it never did. And it takes up the eastern half of both of those towns. So that's the biggest change, I would say. And also I would say that the biggest other change that I noticed, you got to remember I went into this not knowing. Edgeville is a complete ghost town. There's no bank, there's no level 9 man room, no general store, the guard shack is empty. The only thing that is the same is the ladder that heads down to the surprisingly 99% complete Edgeville dungeon. I mean, the only thing that's missing is the gate because, again, there is no wilderness in 2001scape. But yeah, I will flash pictures of all of these weird map changes that you're just probably not like I was, not used to them, and it's kind of interesting to see, like the historical perspective. You'll see in Al-Kharid or Al-Kharid, however you want to pronounce it. There's no shanty pass chest, no crafting store. There's no gate between there and Lumbridge, which Lumbridge is basically the same. I didn't really see any massive changes if there were any. Drainer is also sort of a ghost town. There's no bank. I mean, there's NPCs like Leela is there, of course. Ned is there. Aggie the Witch, Morgan. Yeah. Drainer is a little bit of a ghost town. The Wizard's Tower is there. Port Serene, there's no fishing store yet, so there's just an empty lot. But you have the usual suspects other than that. There's one thing that I wanted to point out, and I thought it was cool. I got a good screenshot of it, and I almost died taking it because I was low level. The Ice Giants. I think you'd call this like the Asgarnian dungeon by Thurgo and the Night Sword. There's only 2 Ice Giants. There's no Ice Warriors. There's no ice floor like you would see, which I thought was a pretty cool screenshot that I risked life and limb to get. But yeah, that's basically the map, and I won't go over everything, but I will say this. The map tool is fantastic. It is so good, and I mean so good. Being able to open it up, zoom in on different shops, has an X that says where you are. I love it. What else was I going to say? The extra features of the client itself. The tickable options are great. You can label things that are on the ground and see things that you wouldn't otherwise see. You can turn off torchlight flicker in dungeons, and that all in itself is just such a beautiful addition. So I loved everything about the extra features that are involved. The small little wiki lookup button. It's fantastic. So that basically wraps up maps in general. I have had a couple bugs, non-game breaking. I've climbed down ladders and I've arrived in pitch black darkness. The map wouldn't load. It causes me to just I close the client, restart it. It's fixed itself. And this only happened one time, and that was down at that dungeon, which name escapes me, by Thurgo. Yeah, that happened once. Also, there was the case of the curious friend. I met him on there, and we were talking and stuff and going back and forth. He logged off, and I kept seeing him appear at random spots in the map. I even tried going to that spot where I was seeing him, and there was nobody there. So I made a recording, a whole separate recording of that guy, just infinitely fighting no one in the darkness of 2001scape's soul. Oh boy. Yeah, so this was the RSC Times client, like I said, not the web or the mud client. And so far, it has only happened once. These two little bugs, I don't know. It's very interesting that these two things in particular happened. I haven't had any connection issues. Everything's worked. They're just weird little bugs that I thought I'd mention. And that about wraps it up. I don't know what else I can think of to talk about. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments section. Feel free. If I know the answer, I'll get back to you. Big shout out to Log on Discord. You may know him. He has a channel, Hamburger Explosion. Go follow him. It's freaking great. He made a video about a 3D mouse that made me shit my pants, dude. I want that thing so badly. It's just, this was fun. It was a great break from vanilla, which I find sometimes just so damn grindy. At my level, you're going for levels, and it just gets old after a while. You need a vacation. I guess 2001scape was a great vacation for me. And going back to ground zero of RSC and seeing where it all came from. Because I did play in 2002, mid-2002 is when I started, but I didn't see any of the beginning stuff. I was in before fatigue was taken out of the game, but I did not see players with eyeballs, or good and evil magic, or any of these map changes, So this was a really fun thing to do, and I just wanted to shout them out. This project is pretty sick, man. I think it's worth at least going and checking out. So that has been 2001scape, a Chub Chub Odyssey. Yeah, it was awesome, and I had a lot of fun. So yeah, go check it out. Peace.